All right. Call the meeting to order, everybody. I'd like to say good morning to everybody, especially good morning to our council and all our staff. This is first meeting in a long time where this gentleman here hasn't been involved. What a beautiful picture here of Murray. Hasn't been involved in Dysart Council. And I know that he would be asking us all to continue to work hard and especially the projects that we're close to getting finished here in the next 4 months. And work hard as a team to try to get them closer to being completed for the next council that's coming in. So I look forward to us all working together to make that happen. Let's make it a goal for us. Okay. Thank you. We'll have a resolution for the adoption of the minutes, please.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the special meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dysart et al. Held on June 16th, 2026 be approved as presented.
Yeah, mover and seconder, Nancy and Barry. Thank you. There's any disclosure of pecuniary interest? No. Items of business. Council vacancy procedures. Tamara?
Okay, I included a report on this in your packages, but I'll go through it briefly for the benefit of those in the audience. Council passed a vacancy policy in 2022, which has been very helpful because it helps provide some procedures that the Municipal Act leaves a little vague. So council at this point is required to declare the mayor seat as vacant and then determine a method for appointing an alternate for the remainder of the term. As council already had this special meeting planned, we added this item to this agenda. Based on the council policy, council has to fill the mayor vacancy by appointment as it's occurred after March 31st in the election year. And it's important to note that appointed mayors are not given strong mayor powers under the Municipal Act. Policy options provide for appointing a current member of council to the role, appointing the candidate from the previous election who ran for the position that is vacant, or putting out an open call for applications for consideration by council. Appointing a candidate from the previous election isn't applicable as he was acclaimed. I've provided some key dates in this report in terms of appointing these positions moving forward and filling these vacancies. I'll just go through the rest of the details first. So a special meeting to appoint the new mayor for the remainder of the term is going to be held on July 7th at 9 a.m. Public notice of the process will be provided online and in the local newspapers. Members of the public are not able to make delegations at that meeting, but they can submit correspondence if they're interested. Any current council member who wishes to be nominated to fill the vacant position of mayor is required to notify the clerk in writing of their consent to nomination at least 5 business days prior to the July 7th meeting. So that'll be June 30th at noon. Any member who's interested in filling this vacancy may not act as chair for the meetings where the decisions will be made. So we'll have to give some thought to that before that meeting comes. At the July 7th special meeting, council will review any submitted correspondence with regard to the candidates, and the candidates will each be given 5 minutes to address council with speaking order determined by lot, drawing a name. Council members may ask each candidate 1 question, but candidates will not be permitted to ask each other questions. Votes are taken in public with a show of hands in accordance with the Municipal Act. Once it's known which seat will be vacated by the mayor appointment, council will have to declare that seat vacant and will repeat the process. It's important to note that if a vacancy has been declared within 90 days of election day, July 28th, 2026, council does not have to fill the vacancy. So I've attached the policy as well for your information if you need to review it in detail. But at this point, we're looking at next week, we'll advertise the vacancy in the local papers. July 7th, we'll have the special meeting where we'll appoint the mayor and declare their former seat vacant and choose another appointment method. And July 13th to 17th week, we'll advertise that vacancy. And then at the regular meeting on July 28th, we'll appoint that vacancy. And from there, you'll determine what to do with the last remaining seat. but you'll have some time to think about that. So does anybody have any questions on that? I think Walt may want to say some words. Oh, sorry. One thing I forgot to mention, which isn't in the report, but it's in my resolution, is that council can appoint an alternate member to attend county council until we appoint a mayor on July 7th. So that would be for their meeting tomorrow, where Eorn will also be there doing the county council engagement, and for their regular meeting next Wednesday. Those would be and then after July 7th, we'd have a mayor appointed and they would attend county council. So that we do need a resolution on that today. So there is a resolution ready. But the one discussion you'll have to have now, and Walt can lead that, is who to appoint as an interim person for the next 2 meetings for county council. It'll just be an alternate council rep. It won't be alternate mayor or alternate deputy mayor. It'll just be a county council representative.
Okay, thanks very much, Tamara. So at this time, I'll ask if anybody is interested in coming forward to sit in on these next 2 meetings with myself at council. I see Nancy's got her hand up. Pat? Carm, okay. What I'd like to do next is at this time, just say, Nancy, do you have a few words you'd like to say to council?
I would be more than willing and honored actually to sit there for a couple meetings. It's the end of my municipal career and I don't think I have any sort of conflict, and it's no sort of indication by anyone else of supporting somebody that's moving forward into another role.
Okay.
I'm willing to do that. I've taken the time from my other job to do that if it's possible, so.
And Pat, how about you? Any comments?
Yeah, sure. Well, definitely interested in sitting in on that meeting or those meetings on that note. Got a broad aspect of what's behind us and what lays ahead on that note. And again, just out there, like I said, put my name forward, and everybody knows the passion I have for the township and the county on that note, and pretty well versed in like the mechanics of a lot of things there. So
Okay.
anyway.
Great. And Carm?
Oh, not a whole lot, Walt, just I have no problem stepping up and doing it if needed. I think Pat would be a great fit, or Nancy, but it needs to be, I don't mind going.
Well, I guess the next thing we have to do is call for a vote here to see this is gonna be kind of interesting. So yeah, we could Laurie just said we could draw a name out of a hat. Maybe I'll ask council, or we could we do that to that?
Probably better if you either decide informally. We have a resolution ready with a blank in it. So if you know amongst yourselves who you want to send, we can just fill in the blank, or we can do one resolution at a time with each person's name and take a vote.
So I would ask everybody, starting with Tammy, like who you're gonna vote for, who you'd vote for, those 3 then, Tammy, I guess. And can you keep track? Okay. Okay. Barry?
Come on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's being declared there. So Pat, welcome.
Thanks.
And I guess that's good. Thank you, council. And we'll have a resolution then. Lori, please.
Sorry about that. Be it resolved that Dysart et al. Mayor's seat be declared vacant, and further be it resolved that council direct that the vacancy for the mayor's seat for the remainder of the 2022-2026 term of council will be filled by appointment of a current member of council at a special meeting to be held on July 7th, 2026. And further that interested council members will submit their consent to nomination in writing to the clerk no later than 12:00 noon on the 30th of June, 2026. And further that the special meeting of July 7th, 2026 will be posted online and in the local newspapers, and further that it be resolved that council appoint Pat Casey as an alternate representative to attend county council until the mayor's seat has been filled on July 7th, 2026.
Okay. Mover and a seconder. Tammy and Carm, all in favor? Great, thank you. And now we're gonna have a presentation from the Eastern Ontario Regional Network. We have in attendance Jim Pine. Hi, Jim, good morning. Morning. Maureen Adams, good morning, Maureen. And Lisa Severinsen, good morning. Come on up, please. Need a mic, Larry. Without.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, members of council. It's always great to be back here, but it is a sad in a way for me. I knew Murray for a long time. What a fitting way to recognize Murray with that great picture here, and he's here, I know, in spirit, and that's great. And I'm sure he would have been very interested in the topic that we're going to be talking about with you right now, but I'm sure we'll all be guided by his past experience with us all. So Lisa and Maureen we're here today to spend some time with you to talk about the affordability and government study. We're in the really the engagement phase right now when we're collecting information and we're talking to people, to all of the councils, all of your staff. We've got other sessions with some other interested individuals from the county. And so we'll be spending this time I think really for the month of June, working through collecting information, collecting ideas, and the work of producing the report will really get underway, the analysis side in the month of July. We have a slide that we'll show you in a minute that talks about the timing and all of this. But today is really about, maybe we can go to the first slide, if that's okay. Maureen and I are going to piggyback this, and feel free to jump in anytime with any questions or comments. But we're doing essentially the same kind of consultation, as I said, with all of the councils, including county council coming up tomorrow. We were in Highlands East yesterday and had a good meeting with Dave and his council there. So really what we want to do is to give you a little bit from our vantage point of the financial environment that the county and its member municipalities are in. We're thinking about and hoping that you will help us with talk about what you see as pressures and potential approaches going forward, and think about what are the long-term opportunities in the county, and talk about some of those pros and cons perhaps that you have. We really are asking you to give us your reflection and have a good discussion today. It's about, as I say, trying to share and hear about your perspectives as individuals and as members of Dysart Council. And we've got a little bit of work to do with you today, if that's okay. We've got a couple of little exercises that we've been using to help get us information, and it'd be great if you could participate with us doing that. And we'll talk a little bit about afterwards. There's still opportunity for lots of input going forward. So really, the next slide. So why are we here today at this time? And as you know, it stems from a reflection of county council deciding that it was important to look at the situation now because of a sense of some really strong fiscal pressures that are coming for local municipalities in the county and also for the county itself. We understand it was a challenging year for budgets in in terms of the 2026 budget. And if we are looking out, it's the forecast for costs aren't going down. They're going to continue to rise. And as a result, County Council directed its staff to establish a study and conduct it. And so that we're here working with Eorn, Maureen and I, to do the consultation work, and Lisa, which will, as I say, will form part of the final report. We want to make sure as we're going through this that we make sure we understand the financial state of each of the municipalities in the county. So we're doing some very detailed analysis based on the FIRs and other information that your staff have graciously provided to the study team. So that work is going on now. So we want to understand where you're at, where everybody is at, and trying to understand what some of the future pressures might be. I guess the big thing that the study needs to do is to look at potential governance models. And we haven't landed on any preferred model at all at this stage. We're really in the information gathering stage. But one of the requirements of the study, the terms, is as that second bullet talks about, is looking at different kinds of governance models, doing an assessment of those models and some best practices from other jurisdictions. The goal is to build capacity and maximize the kind of investment that'll be needed in your local communities or across the county generally, and equip the next council coming in to make decisions about where it wants to go, where the councils want to go. So any decision on change is going to rest, as we understand it, with incoming councils. So this report is going to be designed to give people good information, to think about what might be the future, but it'll be the councils coming up that will get to make a decision. So we think it's important that we give you the best information that we can, and that's why it's important to hear from you. And I think the last bullet just talks about, we know that the province is looking at all sorts of different areas, whether it's conservation authorities or others. So having good information just puts you in a good spot, I think, for any kind of advocacy that you might, as a group of municipalities or at the county level, wish to do. So maybe the next slide, before I turn it over to Maureen, what we're going to be looking at as Eorn, as the study leader, is understanding the unique context of the county. That's been really important in all of the discussions that we've been having with individuals, that there is a strong sense that there are some really unique aspects to life here in the county. And that is important to understand as we think about what the future might be. As I said, we're looking into doing deep dives into budgets and financial statements to understand where everybody is at. We're looking at things like the service delivery review that was done for the county and the member municipalities a while ago, and looking at that. And as I said, looking at other municipalities for lessons learned. So there's a lot on the plate. And the next slide, before I turn it over to Maureen, is just who we are. So this is the team. Lisa is the actual project lead for the whole exercise. And as you know, she's a director of communications for Eorn. Jason St. Pierre is the CAO, and he's very much involved, CAO of Eorn. And we brought Linda Assad, who has 40+ years with Bell Canada, actually doing project management work for Bell, and is really keeping us on track in terms of how the project is set up and how it's going. And on the finance side, Jennifer Stover from Peterborough County is helping with doing the analysis of all of the financial information. And then we've got support from Red Brick Communications around communications and engagement. And then, as I said, the three of us, Maureen and myself and Lisa, are dealing with the consultation side. Next slide. Just for me, I'll wrap up here, and then I'm going to turn it over to Maureen on the finance side. We really want to make sure that we build trust as we're going through the study process. And that's why we want to make sure that everybody who wants to have their voice heard has an opportunity to do that. We're having some public information, open houses, et cetera, in order to let others other than outside the council table and the municipal operations directly tell us what's on their minds. We're trying to reach as many people as we have using a bunch of different tools, communication tools, We want to make sure that what we provide is some really good, clear, accurate information and make sure that we're listening. I think we will fail if people feel that they haven't been heard. So we're going to do the best that we can to do that. And on the other side of the slide, you can see the kind of tactics and tools that we're going to be using throughout the course of at least the next month or so in terms of the engagement piece. So it's a busy time and a time when there's lots of opportunity to talk, but it's really the important time to hear from people. And that's why we're here today, is to hear directly from you. So I'm going to let Maureen take it from here for a while, and then we'll talk some more.
Thank you, Jim, and good morning, and thank you for having us here. Here's a slide that just provides like a little bit of the fiscal context of Haliburton County and the townships. So across the region, your tax base is 98% residential. You likely are aware of that, but what that does is it limits the ability to generate assessment revenue from other classes like your commercial and industrial class. As everybody likely is aware, MPAC property assessments still sit at 2016 market values. There's not an indication currently with the province of when that likely is going to get updated. So that also, I think, is impacting municipalities and their ability to properly levy taxes on market values. Haliburton County relies heavily on a tourism-based economy with seasonal service demands. So those demands probably put a lot of pressure on your first responders, calls for service during a peak period, during cottage season or your tourism season. Your municipalities are facing high cost services mandated by the province that are somewhat beyond your local control to navigate and assess and change those levels of service. Your federal and provincial infrastructure funding is unpredictable and as many municipalities would also suggest, not sufficient given the infrastructure demands that everybody's facing. Many municipalities have infrastructure that is original 50, 60 years old and is at the point where it needs to be adequately maintained or replaced. We move to the next slide. And so here's just an overview of our engagement plan. We've got several meetings. We were here a couple of weeks ago. We met with the CAOs and the senior management teams. We are focusing on a couple of staff engagement sessions. This week we did one yesterday, and we're also meeting with all of the councils, including county council. And then we also have a couple of special groups with community leaders and former elected officials. And then we're also meeting with the library group. Maybe go to the next slide. What we've done on this slide is we're just making sure that we've listed what the services are amongst the local municipalities and what the services are at the county level. So through our discussions and engagement, we have added a few on the local municipality side. So we had waste management, but there's also water and wastewater that the local municipalities are responsible for. Some have airports and cemeteries, and there's a couple of other items, but not sure if council has any questions or comments on that. But if we don't have those services properly identified, then by all means, please let us know. So 2026 budget pressures. So more than 35% of the levy increase that was raised during this past budget year went to outside services that are somewhat beyond your control. And so focusing on shared services, public health, paramedic services, City of Kawartha Lakes for their shared services, your MPAC assessment fees. So all of that in total created 35% of an increase in your levy. So again, it limits what you're able to generate or the pressure that you have to generate additional funding for your local levy for your own priorities. On this slide, we're really just giving you a high level of where the tax levy is allocated, and I've been kind of focusing on the bottom. It's a little bit hard maybe for everybody to read, but if we work from the bottom up, transportation services, protective services, health services, environmental services, general government, and then recreation and cultural services. So your tax levy is 58 million. You do have probably about 17 million that you receive in funding from upper levels of government. And then the remainder of that would be likely collected from service fees and charges. But it just shows the reliance on the tax levy to maintain your budgets. Combined assets based on FIR data for the area is just over $1 billion. There's an annual funding gap of approximately 8 million for maintaining your assets and capital. Total debt across all of the municipalities is 31 million and total reserves is 39 million. So if you look at your reserves as a percentage of your total value of assets, it's approximately 3%. And we're not saying at this point in time whether or not that amount is appropriate or adequate. We just wanted to provide this information at a high level today. That is the county overall. Yeah. That includes that includes the 4 townships in the upper tier.
Thanks, Maureen. So that was just a little bit of a high level. As I said, we'll be doing a very deep dive into the finance situation as we do the final report. But what we wanted to share with you just a little bit, we've been doing some survey work and pre-survey results pre these kinds of direct sessions. And there are some themes that seem to be coming out from the responses that we just thought we'd highlight for you as a bit of a discussion starter. And it was related to, what are the key themes if nothing changes, if the status quo remains the same. And we broke it into some buckets. There certainly was a sense that the status quo is uncertain because of the financial pressures that are here and a concern about rising costs for the future. There was a sense from the responses that there is some duplication and some inefficiency that could be addressed. And we're doing a deeper dive into what people think about that and be interested to hear what you might have to say. One of the really key things that came out through the early work is a concern about the state of infrastructure and the capital pressure going forward. And as we were talking yesterday with staff, infrastructure is the one thing that you can kind of look 10 years out and figure out where you're going to be, generally speaking, because every year, that pipe is a year older, that bridge is a year older, and you can really think about where you're going to be in 10 years. And the sense is in 10 years, there's a lot of work to be done. So it's good to be thinking about how to respond to that or be ready for it now. And so the timeliness of a study like this from an infrastructure planning point of view seems to be really germane and on people's mind. There were concerns about, can we continue to do what we're doing? The service sustainability bucket on the right-hand side. It's a little bit hard to see. But people are concerned about being able to continue to provide the level of service to taxpayers that are important. And I should say that the lens that we are largely looking from in terms of the study is the affordability lens. And this service sustainability speaks to that in a way. So from a taxpayer's point of view, how much, can they continue to afford in terms of their tax requirements and then your requirements to provide service. So we have that sort of affordability lens on everything that we're doing in the work that we're doing together. But even amongst the respondents to the surveys, people are wondering about, can we continue to do what we're doing in the same way, given the pressures that are coming? There is a lot of concern about the loss of local control and local identity. that's coming out in the surveys at this point. And probably not a surprise to any of you around the table. And we've heard that they talked about the uniqueness at the start of our chat today, but there is a strong concern about local identity and how do we manage that. On the really positive side, there's a lot of support around shared services and collaboration. So people see that as an opportunity. There's lastly a little bit of concern about if we don't do something ourselves, will the province step in? And that's just a question that hangs out there with no real answer at this stage, of course. But so those things are on people's minds as they respond to the work that we're doing with them around just maintaining the status quo. And we just offer that for your thoughts and any feedback once we start to the talk back and forth. The next slide is really where we want to go in a moment. Is what are the things that you might have on your mind that might help your community, your municipality around the notion of long-term resiliency financially in order to be able to deliver services in affordable nature to the residents and businesses in your communities. Can we create more capacity locally that improves the taxpayer's quality of life? Again, from the lens of the property taxpayer in this case, and is preserving the unique identities of each municipality a critical piece? And I'm going to guess that it probably is. I was involved in the creation of the city of Quinte West back in 1997 and 98. And when we put 4 communities came together to form a city back then, and preserving identity was really important. So we worked really hard at finding ways to do that. If you were in the former village of Frankfurt, for instance, it has its unique characteristics, but there are ways to do that. But it's important at the outset to recognize it is a concern for people, and we have to think about how best to manage that in a changing world if there are going to be changes. So the last slide before I'm just going to stop and then we'll start the discussion, is just to give you the timeline. As we said earlier, we're in this engagement phase right now, an initial analysis. By the end of June, EORN has to provide an interim report to the county CAO. And then by the end of July is to produce that final report. So the month of July will be really heavily into the analysis piece, having heard what we've heard in June. And then finally delivering that report to the CAO and County Council at the end of July. So it's not a lot of time to do it, but there is a lot of work to do. But I think the idea around the timing was in order to provide really good information to those who might be running for local councils, that there is this report ready for people to read and to think about as you go into the election cycle this year. Because as we said, we understand that it's the next councils that will ultimately make any decision on where to go. So we've got a lot of work to do before the end of July, but that's our requirements, and we'll meet that target. So we've been talking at you for a while now, and maybe, Mr. Deputy Mayor, it's a good opportunity just for us to pause there and just get any reaction from members of council that you might have. And then we've got a couple of exercises, if we can, that really we've been doing with all groups in order to get some more information back, and we'll work through those, right, Lisa? In just a minute, we'll be passing something out for you. So let me stop there. Maureen and I are open for questions, and Lisa, of course, as well. Any thoughts?
Yeah, we'll start off. Anybody want to start? Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask Jim and Maureen? Nancy?
How many other counties that have 2-tier governance have you done this sort of study, provided recommendations for?
Well, this is the first study that EORN has done as a group. Both Maureen and I have experience working at the county level, and as I said, my own personal experience with the city of Quinte West, the amalgamation there that we happened in 97 and 98, and that ended up with a city now. It's just under 50,000 population, and So there's a lot of lessons to be learned, I think, from that. We've been talking with folks who put together, work in Prince Edward County, for instance. So there hasn't been a lot of amalgamations at the county level across the province lately, other than during that period back in the mid-90s, when the city of Kawartha Lakes and some of the single-tier cities were formed. That was a pretty strong provincial initiative at that time, as you know.
Anybody else?
So you've mentioned the province a few times, so even though you said at the very beginning that this is coming from the county and mostly driven for financial reasons, but you've mentioned the province a couple of times, so is it actually coming from the province that if we don't do something, the province is going to?
I honestly can't answer that directly, but I will say that I think it's always better when you are doing something on your own. I don't know what the provincial appetite is for being directive. But I think the county felt that this was an opportune time to try and get together with the members and look at what options might be out there. So
And so if, as the county initiated it, what is the cost of
of the study,
what you're doing? Yes.
yeah, I think they've established a budget of about $200,000.
200,000. And is it taxpayer money or is it a grant?
Now, I believe it's coming out of the county reserves or budget that they've established for it. So.
Quick one, the last one that you were involved in,
Mhm.
do you think, how much has changed from now till then? Like how hard of a procedure was it then? Was it successful? Like you've had a lot of years to go by now.
Yeah.
How did those towns feel 5 years down the road out of it?
Well, I was the CAO for 4 years, the first CAO for the new city. And I've had lots of opportunity over the years to talk with councillors and individuals and community. It takes time to come together operationally. You can put the organizations together in a relatively short period of time, but the politics, and I say it with positively, the politics takes more time for communities start to think about, in this case, the city of Quinte West as an entity. And it just takes time. If you ask my opinion on whether it's successful, I would say absolutely it's been successful. Quinte West is in financially great shape. It brought together a lot of the right kind of partnerships, if I can put it that way. When we were looking at it, the old city of Trenton had sewer and water infrastructure needed work. The city or the township of Sydney, where I was the initial CAO, brought land adjacent. It brought the airbase and a really strong financial position, as did Murray Township. It's the only amalgamation actually that I'm aware of that crossed county boundaries. So we had to get the approval of both Hastings County Council and Northumberland County Council, along with the four initial municipalities. But I think it's been successful. I was talking with the mayor and others not too long ago. They just celebrated their 25th year of having come together. And if you drive down there, you can see the kind of activity that's going on in terms of growth in the community. I think it's been positive. It takes effort to get there, but it's certainly doable. If that's the kind of model that you wanted here, it'll take time. But it is, at least from my experience, it's doable. Others might look at other amalgamations and say they have a different opinion in other areas, but the one that I'm familiar with, and it really was work because everybody wanted to make it work. I always remember, I tell the story that when on the first day the city came into existence, we all got together and said, the only people that will make this a winner are the people in this room. That's all the staff and the elected officials. Together, we have to make it work. And it was a journey, still a journey, but I think that they are in a really, if you look at their situation. They're in a really good financial position. They've got growth. They're responding to community interests for, you know, infrastructure improvements, new recreational facilities, you know, boat launches, all things that are important in the community. That by coming together, they built the financial capacity to do these things. So from that point of view, it's been, I think, been quite successful. But I do have a bias because I helped set it up, I'll be honest, but I think it's gone well.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Point, you put, support for shared services and collaboration. So we fairly recently had the service delivery review, which all the staff worked very hard on. So I imagine that's taking a big chunk out of the homework that you have to do on this study. Because you've already got,
Yes,
you've got lots of data from that.
yes, and we talk a lot about with the staff when we're getting together about collaboration. And I'll be honest, I think there's a mixed bag on a mixed feeling on collaboration, and it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't in this area. So it's an area to work on, I think, if we're being honest.
Yeah, anyway, just my general view of the whole overview of what you're doing. I think it's great. You know, I kind of put it to a blended family moving in together and a business acquisition at the same time, where you've got different personalities and different I'm gonna say assets and maybe liabilities on the same note. So I'm very much interested. I'm not by any means against amalgamation on that note, but very for I'm very supportive of efficiencies, and still every township in the county being able to preserve their voice at the table and their characteristic, because that makes up the county. I got family and friends in every corner on that note. And, you know, as time moves on, I think we're not getting a fair shake from the province. And I know Murray's mentioned that several times over the years, that we get handed down provincial highways and OBP and everything else, where we're not getting any financial assistance from that. And it's putting it on our shoulders. And it might be different in different areas such as yours down south, but here we're spread out, more of a cottage industry on that note, not a whole lot of heavy industry in that regard. So our tax base is kind of more, I'm going to say, largely skewed to lower income residential stuff, and really the breadwinner for us as the whole county is the lakes and our cottagers. So two different animals on that note. But again, circling back to the province, it's to me getting to be almost an insult that they hand these larger infrastructure maintenance type things down to our local stuff, local municipalities to look after, such as bridges and roads. I think everybody's wore out for me saying all that, but over the years. But I think that's something to really look at as a side note of what we're trying to do here. But you know, again, if you look at the whole model between the two-tier system between the county and the townships, what I see in a business lens is that we struggle with delay and extra costs for development and other procedures that have to go through that second tier. And I'm not kicking the staff at the county level, but on the same note, it's not crazy. It's not really efficient for us as say Dysart approving a 10-unit condo building. All the approvals are done and everything else, and then it has to go to council and they got to redo it again, and there's peer reviews again and everything else. And it's tough for our county to compete, or a township even to compete with other places such as, I'm going to say Huntsville or anywhere else that doesn't really have the two-tiered system. So, you know, we've chatted about it before, whether we could do a hybrid system where we got rid of that second level, but not totally. Because you know, in my own mind, I don't feel that, you know, we're not going to have any less roads to plow, really less fire departments. Like, you still need a captain at the fire station, and you still need snow plows on the road. We're not going to get rid of any of that. However, we could look at, I think it was in the service delivery review, unless I'm mistaken, where there's less overlap, meaning that our snowplow trucks aren't going to Harcourt and Harcourt's not coming over to, Koshong Lake. Those are types of efficiencies that make blatant common sense to save money on. But, anyway, I know I've said a lot in a short time, but we're very passionate for the process, but also, again, moving forward cautiously. If it's not been mandated by the province, it's great, and that we can take our time to really analyze this, because we get one kick at the can. I know that in different townships, they've amalgamated and it's been a train wreck. They're still trying to bail their way out of it. I'm not being condescending to them. It's just the way the process turned out and the way it unfolded. On that note, I'm happy to hear yours was a success. So anyways, we're hoping that we can, shed a good lens on that, moving forward with us. So.
Yeah, if I could just say, I think the approach with the study is a good one, in the sense that it's designed to give you, and we have to do this as part of the deliverables, are some options or models, as we keep talking about it, to consider, to take the time that you need to look at how can we do this differently if we need to. I mean, what the sense that we are hearing is the status quo has got a lot of risk financially and others. So taking the time to look at what might be in terms of other avenues, whether it's around the service delivery approach and realignment, that's an option, and all the way from different kinds of governance models. So I think the idea of just putting together as detailed and fulsome a report as possible for people to look at and to study and to think about is a really logical way of doing it. And so whatever decision gets made, people will have thought it through, I think. And from there you can go forward. As I said, when you do this together, you can do great things when you work together. Quite strong believer in that.
My last point is that aside from the amalgamation conversation, or an efficiency polish, we could call it, the other half of that to me is the affordability lens in terms of housing. To me, we do it, in this room, we have a pretty good collective of experienced people that are, road building or housing or whatever. But I always say there's not a housing shortfall. There's not a housing problem. It's a bureaucratic problem in terms of getting houses built. At the end of the day, you can build houses fast, but in terms of getting lots divided, subdivisions approved, and on it goes. And that's not only at the local level, it's, municipal, provincial, and federal on that note. But that all has to be, in my own opinion, has to be stripped out and again, just relooked at on that note. And that to me should be a part of what we're looking at doing here in that regard. So we make the best use of the resources financially that we have now, increase the efficiency, but also make affordability and development easier to do across all income levels. Because again, right now we got, Habitat for Humanity's building some houses, and there's the odd house being built here, there, and all over. But in terms of larger rental complexes and stuff like that, it's a tough go in terms of making the ratios work of building a 10-unit rental apartment and getting the revenues that are acceptable in this area for rent, but plus paying the bill to build the building. But anyway, that's all I got to say. Sorry.
And maybe to your point, I just retired not too long ago from United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. But in our county in Eastern Ontario, we had one official plan at the county level that incorporated all of the townships as well. So it's just an example of, maybe to your point, might allow for that planning process and approval process to work a little bit more quickly. Planning and trying to get registered planners, qualified staff, are one of the challenges that many municipalities face. At SDG, we did a lot of the planning work for the local townships. So we might have a technician at the township level that could take in the applications, but then there's a bigger team at the county level that's able to deal with those types of applications and responses. And people that want to work in an area like that would probably like to be part of a bigger team, as opposed to being a one-person model in a local township, right? So if you start to become part of a a bigger group, you start to see the opportunities for career advancement. 'Cause you're gonna have different, like different positions at different levels if you combine resources, right? So not, doesn't mean amalgamation, but it might mean you centralize, some of these services to build efficiencies and create opportunities both for levels of service, but also for your staff.
Okay, I might, have a bit of a different view of this. Like us all around this council table here, we're all very passionate about our community. Like all the other municipalities, councilors are. And we're all really, really in favor of anything that are gonna make, taxes stable and services a little bit better. But it just seems to me that in a lot of these amalgamations, let's use the word. I don't hear, you're telling a great story there, Jim, and I would love to know what the taxes were when you 25 years ago and what they are today, say, or something like that. But I hear, like I'd said, I don't hear a lot of good news on a lot of these amalgamations. And I think that it comes down to, and I know this is off the wall, but the bigger governments have got to quit spending money. It's that simple. And I think that counties and municipalities are falling in that rut ourselves. We have a lot of and I'm not putting down employees. Dysart's, I know Dysart really well, all the employees. We have great employees, but I just think that there's a time when you got to step back and take a look at the big picture here. And want, we all want, but everything here is about money. This is all about money. And I don't see how we're going to get out of the financial picture that you're painting, Jim and Maureen, and our CAO at the county, Gary, has told us that the future costs are going to be in Haliburton County with amalgamating. I could see us, construction, just like in every area. Look at in Toronto, the building that's going on there, or any other big area. We're in Haliburton here, the village of Haliburton. You look at Minden, Algonquin, everywhere. Contracting is one of the biggest industries we got going here. And I know in the service delivery reviews, there was quite a bit of talk in regard to the building and the planning somehow trying to get on board with this, same kind of game plan, which I think the contractors and would all be extremely happy with in the county. But I don't think we could, I'm not trying to be negative. Like I say, I'm all in favor. If you can save all the taxpayers in Dysart in the county some money, let's get on board. But I really think we got to wake up the big boys, who are called the big government, but the feds. I mean, they spend money and give money away, like that's our money. And I mean, when you look at, I'm just talking about in our little bill in our little Dysart. Our healthcare system could use more money. Our homeless situation. Needless to say, our infrastructure, like on and on. And it just seems that this money goes out the door when, and we're up here in kind of northern Ontario. We could use some of that money. And when some's left over, please give it, help other people, especially the really big boys. But I know I'm talking way off topic here and that, but I don't think we're ever going to solve this issue until we get some people in charge, whatever it is. I don't care who they are. They're going to take care. We're in Canada. We're in the township of Dysart, the county of Haliburton, and we got to become a priority. and to me, we're not a priority. So much money, this little community raised $6 or $7 million here for hospital equipment. And the volunteers that we have and the generous people here in the county, especially, I'm talking about Dysart, but it was all over the county to raise the money. And I mean, I don't think a lot of those volunteers will be jumping on board as eagerly if it's one big government here. And I could go on and on some more about it, but I'm going to quiet here. But I'm very, very passionate about big governments. They're too big, and please take care of your own backyard. And that's where we need help from. This is a huge money issue.
Yeah, there's no question about the kind of investment that is required. And just to make it a little more, maybe a little more local, I've just completed a bunch of work around water and wastewater in another project. And looking at the estimates that AMO has put out about the kind of money that needs to be invested in local water and sewer systems, and you have some of that here. They estimate over the next 10 years, about $300 billion across the province needs to be spent just on water and wastewater services. About 100 billion of that is for new growth. The other 200 million is just to take care of what you already have. 200 billion to take care of what you have in the next 10 years. So what I see from that is that's a train coming at us. How are we going to be ready for it? What can we do ourselves locally to try and be ready? You can wait, hope that the grants come, or you look at how you're managing and investing in systems now. So that's, that is coming, and it's not out of the question to think about that kind of money. Every year, that pipe or that water plant is a year older. You can predict pretty well where your systems are going to be in the next 10 years. And I said, AMO has said across the province, it's, a huge spend. It's just for that service, which is absolutely critical to any kind of new development. If you want to build housing and stuff, in any concentrated way, you need to have the services available. So that's just sort of a reality that we're facing locally, and we need the province and federal governments to help, because that's a lot of money. Otherwise, that's just coming out of this tax base here for your share that you require. So there are some realities around that, and roads and bridges, all of those things require that kind of attention. So I've always felt it's better to understand what you can do yourself to be as ready as you can, and to advocate for your communities. And you need really good information in order to be able to do that. So that's why I think this study is probably timely, in the sense that, let's look at how can we take care of ourselves the best way that we can, and how can we set ourselves up to try and be ready for what's coming. And all of the things that you said, Walter, absolutely true. We know that the federal government is committed to significant new investments in defense, which is totally required. But if you look at their budget, and I was looking at a presentation last week by someone looking at this, saying, where's the money going to come for housing? And all, so fiscal pressures are going to be strong on the federal side as well. So, and so it's not the picture going forward is a challenging one. What can we do locally to try and make ourselves, be the best ready that we can be? So we said we haven't landed on any specific model yet. We're just in the information stage. And I think what we'll end up doing is providing some options for the county and local communities to look at in terms of how can we organize ourselves? Is it more about finding efficiencies in the current way services are delivered? So there'll be a bit of a menu, I'd say, for you to look at. But really the goal is to give you some options to look at going forward. But it is really important to hear your views, because that will help inform us around options, I'd say. Agree?
Yep.
Okay, have anybody else have any further comments?
We've got two things that we'd really like to do with you, if that's okay.
Oh.
It's a little bit of work. Do we still have time
Sure.
to do that? Lisa, do we have the? Oh, you've passed them out already? Oh, excellent. Excellent. So there are two documents. One is designed to suss out this notion of uniqueness, I think, and then the second one is about thinking about, we call it forced trade-offs, the top five pressures that are things that you think are important in a period where there is pressure. So can you just take a few minutes yourself to look at the materials that we handed out and fill them out? We'll take them away, but we can also talk a little bit about them as well once you're done. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Take 5 or 10 minutes and then we can come back.
All right, then, no problem. Take a 15-minute break or longer or whatever, what do you guys want? Yeah. 15, 20? 15, okay. Okay, we're gonna continue here with the EORN presentation with Jim Pine and Maureen Adams. Go ahead, Maureen.
Thank you. So we're putting this type of exercise forward to everyone that we're meeting with this week. And we also did this as well with the senior team and CAOs a couple of weeks ago. And what we're looking for in the first exercise is we're looking for words that describe the uniqueness or the identity of each of your townships. We want to be mindful of what is important to make sure that we preserve everybody's identity working through this exercise. And so through these sheets, what we were hoping for is that we'd have a good dialogue going around and allow everybody maybe to go around the table and describe, in 5 words or more, what is unique about your area and what is, and what describes it. And we've heard, and it's interesting kind of going through the exercise, we do hear a lot of similarities between, staff, CAOs, and I'm anticipating similarly with some of our elected officials. But this is part of what we would like to do this morning. So through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure how you'd like to proceed, but maybe we could start with you and go around the table or whatever
Sure.
council would like to do.
You just want me to read out my 5?
Yeah, sure.
No, there's so many great things about our little community here in Dysart. I really am always interested in the history of the earlier times here in our area. How tough times must have been, but they survived. But things like logging and how they survived hunting and fishing, and that's going on today, especially the hunting and fishing has always continued. Our lakes and rivers and our trails are always so big. The snowmobiling, cross-country skiing, even downhill skiing. I mean, it's a small hill, but we have great cross-country skiing, but Sir Sam's is a really good family resort. Very, very proud of that, boy. And every one of our municipalities is so proud of their own municipality in so many different ways. I could go on and on here, but I just know that. And all the volunteers that we have in every one of our municipalities, whether it's Dysart, they're the ones who make our municipality so successful. They help out so much. They don't get anywhere near the credit that they should get. And small communities like this survive on volunteers. Believe me, they do. And our Rotary Club, our Lions Club, on and on. Our churches. So it's that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Just as a note to council, the volunteer component we have heard loud and clear across all levels of engagement. So there is a fairly significant volunteer community that we need to be mindful of. And but that's resonating across all of our meetings.
Okay, anybody put their hand up next want to start, or Barry? Go ahead, Barry.
We'll work backwards for a change from Ward 5 down to Ward 1. You won't have as much to say maybe when we get to Ward 1. Anyway, just 5 quick notes, I guess. The beauty of our municipality, of our county, the small community mindedness of our community, financial stability of, I can't speak for the other municipalities, but for Dysart, our financial stability is very, very well, very good shape, I think. Affordability, meaning how do people afford to live here? They're just kind of 2 sides that I guess. It's very affordable in some areas, like compared to Toronto or something like that. But again, because our income is so low, then it's not very affordable. So, and the other thing I think is, I hear this a lot, is how do we keep our young people here? I got 3 boys, grandsons. How do we keep them? That's it.
We heard some of that yesterday amongst staff too, that for younger people growing up in the community, what is there to retain them, to keep them here?
Go ahead, Carl.
Local support aspects, the volunteers, we're community oriented. Everyone's important. It's quiet and unique, and local support from the municipality to individuals.
Good. Good. Tammy?
I had all of those as well, as a municipality, but, if I went with my board, it's a little bit demographically unique, because from either side to get to it, you have to go through Highlands East. And plus, at the north part, it backs onto Albert Forest. So it's a very strange, but when you walk through it or when you drive through it, it seems fine, but or it doesn't seem fine, but on paper, when you look at a map, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense when you actually look at it. So the demographics is a little bit different. Because I'm more than 30 minutes away from the hub here and have to go through another township again. So, and I feel like, they've always felt.
Your mic is. Start again.
Sorry. Sorry. I think that there's a really good community connection there, because they always feel left out from over here. So it's very good community wise, that they help each other out. The businesses help each other. They have their own set of volunteers, and the volunteers easily go from Highlands East to, Harcourt. They don't really see a line there, because usually it's the same volunteers, no matter what's going on. And we have 2 townships that are in Algonquin Park, which is a big secret. So hopefully it doesn't get out too much saying it, but and there's even public access, but it's nobody really knows about it. So I like the uniqueness over there, and I think that it is it's very well close knit. That's what I'm trying to say. Close knit from here.
Okay. Thanks, Nan. Tammy, Nancy, go ahead, please.
Right, so I put our natural environment, it's peaceful, there's recreational opportunities for all 4 seasons. There's a small town feel, with inclusivity, it's welcoming, it can be engaging. There's strong partnerships between, community groups and, like BIA, the fire department, like everybody kind of works together toward common goals. There is a huge community of volunteerism with engagement. It's a very vibrant arts community, and there are lots of events if you choose to participate. In all the hamlets have kind of central locations for the people of that area to congregate and have their own events or whatever. Okay.
Go ahead, Pat. No, you all said what I was thinking. But. Anyways, we've all heard a lot of the stuff I'm going to repeat here, but anyway, very unique. It's people, it's feel, and the environment. It's relaxing to newcomers and a family feel to locals, and a genuine community feel to all that come and go from here. I always say, you know, an old saying, but best place to live. I travel not often, but I do travel a lot. But anyways, always look forward to come home on that note. We got 4 seasons, 4 different times a year. We can embrace that. I know I wish a bit warmer in the wintertime, but we'll get around that one later on. Anyway, and echo Walt there, huge volunteer spirit on that note. Like, and I think that reflects itself back on the core of it, feeling like a small, tight-knit community spirit on that note, where everybody's in it for each other, and we try and make the place as best and welcoming as we can see fit on that note. Anyway, that's suggested.
Thank you for that. And we've heard, I think almost all of these items across other individuals that have participated in the exercise. And I guess also too, what we want to make sure we do through this exercise is we want to understand, like, if you had 2 characteristics of your community that you want us to, that you believe are the most important and need to be protected, what would they be? And so that's sort of a bit of a follow-up from the list that you just provided. But if anybody would like to share that, that's something that we want to make sure that we,
Well, I could jump in on that one right away, like, Nancy brought up the hamlets. I mean, these are special places and, I mean, you can drive out to West Guilford or Eagle Lake or out to, Harcourt or up to, Kinesis Lake area, and great little stores and restaurants and just a wonderful family, community. Like in Eagle Lake, our little Eagle Lake there, we have a great, little church. And, it's been there for a long time and, things like that. We just can't lose those things. Like, we can't lose, that's so important. I mean, West Guilford, I can go on and on here, so I'll just shush, but, that's something we can't lose.
For what protecting the most, I actually put in protecting our natural environment with our lakes and shorelines. They are a huge attraction for tourism industry and they afford people a peaceful lifestyle.
Okay. Please carry on.
so I think also like looking ahead, we want to know what you think we should make sure that the decision makers are keeping in mind as we navigate through this process. So what do you want to make sure is preserved through all of this when we start to put together our final report?
Well, technically it says to ensure your community's identity is preserved.
Correct.
So I just put in, to continue to promote and increase the visibility of the individual villages, hamlets, the events, the history of each. Maintain and, promote those things and just keep our infrastructure, maintain and improve what we can.
I'd really hate to see, maybe these aren't the right words to describe it, but to blow up what the county and the 4 municipalities in the county of Halliburton, just for the sake of, thinking that you're gonna save a lot of money and you're gonna make things more efficient. I think that it's just so important. I'm only worried about the county of Halliburton and the municipality of Dysart. But that, there's money is the problem. We need some money to preserve all these things that, are, all our grandparents before fought and worked for. And, I just hate to see us lose I know everybody's talking about the identity. And, if you can tell me, Jim and Maureen, that you can set this thing up as an amalgamation and boy, taxes are gonna be this and services are gonna be this. Nobody's gonna argue with that, but just for the sake of doing it, I I don't want any part of it.
I got one. I pride us in being a town. I don't want us to be a city.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's a good one, Carl. Good one, Carl. Anybody else?
Yeah, I had voices at the table. Accountability. Seems to be a struggle. Upstream. Good governance and being responsible. I just want,
Go ahead.
I just want to stress, like Carm said, like I said, our small community minded. And that's what we are. That's what we've been for 150 years. That can't change in my mind anyway. Can't change. I'm all for us to, there's expansions needed and stuff, but you definitely have to keep that in mind. No matter what we decide or how you decide it. That's gotta be top priority.
That was your microphone, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And there'll be an opportunity for the community to go through a similar exercise. It's not going to be exactly the same as this one for council, but there's going to be an opportunity for community representation to participate on some of these items as well. Maybe as one last item, we put together a sheet and we're calling it forced trade-offs. So we've listed a list of items and probably all of them are really important. But what we've done is we've asked you to identify the 5 that you think are the most important. And so we were hoping that we could maybe just again go around the table and just have everybody tell us what 5 they think are the most important to keep an eye on.
My teachers hated me at school, but they're all important. I can't pare them down. If you leave some out, some get forgotten, dissolved, or what have you. So again, no disrespect, but they're all in for me.
They're, they're all important. I will narrow it down to the 5. Affordability, efficient service delivery, infrastructure investment, speed of decision making, and preserving identity.
Are you ready, Jamie? Go ahead.
Well, yes, I almost had the same 5. I think that economic growth for the people that live here. It would be nice for them to be able to have jobs here if they wanted them. And for the most part, I feel like for the people that do, they need to create their own jobs because there isn't a lot here, so they have to get creative here. And the same, and sufficient staffing for running the municipality. That's a major one. So, and the efficient service delivery, I would think at least what I see is the roads getting out on time, or if they have appointments or whatever, they need the roads done. That's a major one. And affordability, which is always the case.
Okay, I'm, of course, affordability, and I think we do a good job of that here in Dysart and in the county. Needless to say, our infrastructure investment, that's gonna be an ongoing problem for a long time. We sure gotta get our ducks in order for that. Economic growth, I think is so important to our small communities. You know, maybe I'm talking in a way that I don't want the little community to grow, but it's important that it grows and we keep our identity. And so I'm all in favor of making things affordable too, the type of housing that we really need. The speed of decision making, that's huge right now, as far as I'm concerned, in regard to planning and the building department and on and on. And then the big one for me is preserving our identity. It's so important. Like this is, I mean, I'm kind of bragging here. I was never born here, but they still haven't accepted me as a local, but I've been here a long time. But I know one thing, I really love it here.
Well, I unfortunately had to pick the top 5 because without those, you don't have the bottom. Good.
So thank you for that, and we'll gather up the sheets and then we're going to compile all of the data across all of our groups. But I think we'd like to turn it back to council if you have any further questions of us. We know we've taken a lot of your time this morning. We appreciate that. But if there's any questions, then we're happy to answer them now.
Anybody got anything else to inquire about? No, okay,
Great. Thank you very much.
no, thank you, thanks for coming, and needless to say, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
It's a lovely room. It's nice and bright.
Yeah,
And thank you for allowing us. Yeah.
yeah, we'll be here and ready to go at 9:01, so don't be late.
Okay. Count on that.
Yeah, at least we don't.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna now have a status update on the county Road 21 development from Jeff starting and then with Rob. So you're on, Jeff. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. There they are. No, not yet. Really tough. Hello, Evan. Can you hear
morning.
us?
Good morning, Deputy Mayor.
Yep, you can hear us? Okay, everything's good?
Loud and clear, thank you.
Okay. So, you ready to go, Jeff?
Yes, I can start off, and good morning, members of council. So this item relates to the planning and development of the municipally owned lands on County Road 21. If you recall, in May, council endorsed the first draft of an enhanced conceptual site plan as presented by the Big Larry Group, and as you can see, Evan's in attendance today. So I don't want to speak on behalf of Evan and his team, but the site plan was intended to maximize housing, increase road frontage, and therefore substantially increase the number of potential housing units. It increased the value of the land. So by increasing the number of units, it will maximize the revenue for the municipality and the taxpayers and improve development efficiency. So Evan's team proposed a phased design. The design relocated one of the priority lots with the intent of them being able to begin development sooner. And lastly, complying with planning legislation. And I'm sure Evan can add a lot to that. So it appears that there is some interest in amending the site plan now. That's why Evan's here. I asked that council provide him clear direction on how to proceed, and he's here, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have. So, and attached to the agenda, I have provided a copy of the original site plan, as well as the first draft of the conceptual site plan as presented by the Big Larry Group. So we're here just to answer any questions, and again, I'll take notes of these changes, but I ask that you give Evan clear direction in what council would like for this development. Thank you.
Would you like to make any comments right now, Evan?
Through yourself, no comments at this time. I'm happy to walk you through both concepts to the entire council if you would like, but otherwise, following our meeting several weeks ago, we understand the intent behind the further refinements.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna ask, everybody's gonna get a chance here to say something in regard to any comments you have here, but I think it's great that you know, the recreation area is where we all agreed it to be. Is that not correct, council? Okay, all right. All right, maybe you'd like to do that, please.
Sorry, I didn't have my mic on there, Evan. We are suggesting maybe you go through the changes first so they have something to comment on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen, and please let me know when you see it. Can you see the plan on the screen?
Yep, we do.
Perfect. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll pull out a pen and we can draw as we go in red. Can you see the red?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so this was a concept draft plan of subdivision that was drawn up after some work done by the owner 2 owners ago, Paul Wilson. This was the concept originally advanced as part of the desire to develop some housing and some lots for some needed public uses. You've got this blue block here, which was intended for a multi-use rec facility, you know, for Halliburton, a curling and a hockey arena potentially, or maybe more. And then an Extendicare block here, which is a potential kind of anchor tenant, early tenant. Park in purple. The green, one of these blocks, this is no longer a part of the conversation in the subject lands, but the 2 green blocks were intended as sort of a highway commercial. You can see that they're quite separated from the highway. And then the yellow and some of these leftover purple blocks were a single detached lots. The yellow would have been privately serviced lots and the pink would have been partially serviced lots. So there's a few things that we discovered through our initial conversations with the mayor and with staff about this plan. One was that there's 2 unopened road allowances, one to the north here, and one that bisects municipally owned land north-south here in the middle. And there's actually, this plan is not fulsome in the sense that it excludes the lands that are also municipally owned over here. So the subdivision it's not exactly like this, but you know, there's some leapfrogging parcels in here, but essentially there's another piece of municipally owned land to the east that's part of the current industrial area of the municipality. And these are in fact part of our tasked work. And so part of the direction was to see, from the mayor and from staff, is there a way to help the municipality get more lots? Does everything comply with the or is it consistent with the provincial policy statement, planning statement now, and the matters of provincial interest under the Planning Act? So we have to look at things like land use efficiency, connectivity, new homes, the provision of new homes, and even to some extent affordability and how lands get developed based on topography. So a couple of things were discussed and we came up with a new concept, and this is prior to certain information. So as you can see on this plan, there's quite detailed topographic information. This was provided by a survey done by a former surveyor and the former owner, Paul Wilson, through an aerial survey, so LiDAR survey, which is why they're so detailed. This information was shown on the plan, but not provided to us in a digital CAD file. So there's a certain amount of detail that we don't yet have that's in progress. And so there's a couple of on-site things that we didn't yet get to see. So when we designed our plan, it's based on parcel fabric, policy, regulation, and topography that we had available. So this is quite an accurate map. And so our concept did take into account topography. there's a couple of things that I noticed during my first site visit that I think will help make for an even better refined version. But this is the version here on the screen that was endorsed by yourselves at the previous council meeting where we presented it. So the biggest changes are the introduction of a sort of a double road. And then the swapping of the MRF and the Extendicare site. So this was done purposefully because of our conversations with the mayor, rest in peace, who has advocated for Extendicare being sort of first in line and wanting the right site. So we understand from our conversations recently that the preference is not actually to have the MRF moved here, and the MRF is or whatever it ends up being, whether that's arena, a curling rink, or both, or a MRF, is that it may be maintained here. And so our plan had swapped them, and so the intent is the biggest hurdle is to swap them back, and so that can be easily done. The road that we have drawn essentially follows the exact road that's been built out today by Mr. Wilson. I think on his plan it more or less takes a veer here and then comes back up. But overall, the alignment up to the sort of edge of where this brown area is here. This is the phase 3 line, which is where the initial intent for public services for sanitary were to end. It matches up, and so the road can generally stay the same. What we're going to be looking at next, if it's so requested of council today, is swapping these two blocks back. So essentially you'll see the pink and the purple will go back. And then we'll look at two options for how the road can be configured. One is to match the exact route of Paul Wilson's road that's there today, which is more of a driveway. It's quite steep. It will probably still need to be regraded, even with the work that's been put in. Just it's quite a steep road. And we'll also look at how it can branch out to create more frontage, to create more homes. So the biggest change, and I think, is in the efficiency of the first design. So in the first design, there's about 15 lots here in yellow on private services. On ours, within just the kind of brown area alone, not including the pink, we can up that to about 38 lots. So the efficiency more than doubles with this alignment. So what I think the intent is, and this is what we're asking of council today, is to give further direction on refining it based on our latest conversations, to do the swap back between the MRF block and the Extendicare site, or whatever is to come on this purple. And then redo two development concepts where we're looking at how to maximize the efficiency of the singles. The other piece to the former Paul Wilson design did show a connection here, but it's our understanding council's intent is to not have a road open here. And so one of the things we would do is cul-de-sac at this extent, which doesn't mean it's cul-de-sac forever. It just means it's cul-de-sac until a decision has been made to connect and build out this road. And then what we would do here is come up with a new official plan and zoning designation for this area in blue. So that way, if an Extendicare site does go here, that there's no land use compatibility issues between it and the uses to the east, and same with the singles that are up here and its uses to the east. So we would probably redesignate to something along the lines of a non-employment mixed use designation, or non-employment commercial. There's a variety of new language being used in municipalities across Ontario to demonstrate consistency with the PPS, which essentially only allows employment uses to be the hard stuff, the manufacturing, the logistics warehouses, the fabrication. And so we need a transitionary use here, and that's what we'll be changing on the plan if it's endorsed today. We've also been tasked with considering whether or not another lot can kind of go in this corner here, rather than such a big park. And that's open for conversation. It can still stay a park if you prefer. It can also be considered for a lot. So essentially what we can do are two concepts and then move forward with one. So what we'll require is endorsement today of, for us to proceed with a further refinement. We can either do it as one further refinement or two, and then we'll require a future selection. But we will need a final selection on the plan or endorsement of the next plan. And that could be possibly delegated to staff today as well. So you can endorse me to refine the plan and either create one or two options. And then you can also delegate authority to staff to give essentially the green light on we'll call it the third concepts, 3A and 3B that we come up with here, rather than having to bring it back to council. The last endorsement that was done at the previous council meeting was to extend the sanitary services further north to the extent of the property, and that doesn't need to be all the way to the north edge, but to extend it so that way we can provide sanitary servicing to the singles in the north. And what that could do is it also allows for even smaller lots, so we can probably go below 1 acre if we wanted to in some cases. And that doesn't need to happen at full build out. We can design this as a vacant block, or we can design them as lots, depending on how you envision this being built out. But the intent would be that if you would extend municipal sanitary services, we can fit potentially up to 90 lots here on a sanitary servicing option. And the only constraint would then be water capacity. So is there enough water for private wells? And that's where your separate consultant through SLR would have to determine essentially the cap on the number of lots. But if we extend servicing up, we can go from 15 to at least 38 and potentially much more with that. So that's the other thing we would be looking at, is the appropriate lot size and the number of lots. But either way, even with a third version of a refined plan, we can achieve quite a bit more land use efficiency here. So that's my summary. I'll stop there. I think that's a good spot to stop. And if you have any questions, I'm open to consideration. But the site visit has been done, and we've seen I've seen one thing. And actually, before I stop, there's one feature here which is sort of in the middle. It's about here. It's a kind of a small water course. So the former landowner has mentioned this is a natural feature that we've failed to include. And so one of the things that our site visit did was confirm there is a small water course here. It's on my site visit, it's not as significant as I had envisioned it would be, and we're waiting on the results of your environmental consultants' data to determine whether or not that water course needs to stay. Or if it's non-significant and it can be altered or removed, whether or not it's connected to a greater piece of the water system in the community, or if it's just simply a naturalized drainage feature that can be relocated or shifted or crossed. So there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle we're waiting on. But other than that, it's fully ground truthed now, and we're awaiting this decision.
Okay, thanks very much, Evan. Jeff, do you want to comment now, or do you want us to have some comments?
I have no comment.
Okay,
Thank you.
Barry, you want to start?
Yeah, Evan, jump in and stop me when you feel free to hear if I've made a mistake. So today you're looking for us to tell you that we want to do the flop for the rec center, whatever, in the institutional block, right? So you're looking for that for one.
Yep, that's correct.
The bottom lot that's in, if we go down to Paul's drawing there, that's the green. Can we say that we would like to continue with that green area there? Now, I know there's some question about the stormwater system going in that area. Is that correct?
I think in general, this matches up with what has previously been designed by Paul. I think we've just extended it to make it simpler. There was previously a highway commercial block here in green at the bottom edge of it, but that highway commercial uses, one of the reasons we took that away is because highway commercial uses, to get a tenant to want to set up shop on that site, need visibility from the street, to need street access. They would be forcing commercial traffic off of the road down a singular driveway. So creates an interesting pinch point and a potential traffic concern that we haven't, the traffic has never been a piece of this municipal puzzle. So if we're going to get into that, we may need to consider a traffic consultant to weigh in. But one of the reasons we moved that too was to create this sort of civic campus. So we've got a big park that can be programmed. You had the MRF and the extended care site, which can be swapped, all creating this kind of wonderful civic campus here that where all three of these uses, including the singles, the fourth use, can interact on the daily. So this can still be considered for a single lot, or we can consider it again for highway commercial. We may, if we're going to get into the highway commercial stuff off of the singular access point, we may need to talk about transportation and traffic assessment.
Okay, well, I'm okay with that. Like I'd like you to look at least I'm just talking for myself. I'm not talking for council here, but I would like you to look into the possibility of it being a portion of it anyway. It doesn't have to all be. So there's those two things. As far as the housing development, now, if we go with the top end, can we just sort of say, okay, we're going to use that as a block? And I think you already said this, we'll use this as a block. We know it's going to be for housing, but we can tweak all that later. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you have sort of two options. If we designed, so we can do the two options. One as a singular road, and then blocking from that, or where we sort of follow Paul's original road, which does follow it up to about here, and then a double road concept from there. So what we would lay out is the blocks and the roads, and then from there you can do two things. You can do a separate subdivision application to fill in the blocks, or you can do part lot control exemption, which probably would be done through staff and can be quite quicker. And that is another option that you have if you wanted to develop them later.
Okay. So everything that I've just kind of said, is that enough for you today then to give you direction of which way to go here? Or is there anything more you need from us?
No, I think the direction would simply be to just, I understand all of the objectives of council, and what you've said today and at previous meetings would be to simply just refine the plan one more time. But it's the piece that we need confirmation on is, do you want two options, the singular road option or the double road option? And then the double road option obviously gives you much more frontage and much more lots for new houses. The singular road option reduces that quite significantly, but is, potentially, depending on what our civil engineer says, easier. So the second endorsement would simply be to tell us to do one or two options. And then the third piece is, if you want the commercial lot considered here, we can still look into that. It's just a matter of who does the final decision on the plan, because we need final direction on a plan that we're going to use. So once we do this refined plan, we can also delegate authority to staff as well today. And that would be the other way to keep this moving faster. Because if we have to go back to you with the final plan, that's another period of time where it's delaying essentially our actual work to get a submission in front of you.
Okay, well then I guess my suggestion would be, I'd like you to look into the commercial end that you just circled there. And then I'd like you to give us the two options then at the top end, either the double road or single road.
The problem is it's topography up there.
Yeah. So, I mean, what harm does it hurt for you guys to show both of those options to us, right?
Yeah, so I mean, topography is certainly a key consideration in a subdivision. The fact is, no matter what road goes in, whether it's single or double, there's going to be extensive roadworks to build these roads. Even with Paul's existing road, it's most likely too steep to be considered acceptable to municipal road standards today. So there's going to be regrading no matter which you choose.
Okay, Jeff, you following that all right?
I was just gonna say, and Jeff can weigh in on this, but in terms of timing, it probably doesn't hurt to come back through council to approve the final, because it's pretty important, but we do have a special meeting on July 7th. I don't know if there's time, if that would speed up the process to put it on that agenda. Do you have any comments on that, Jeff or Evan, or?
The one thing I did note, and Evan, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but we do, as Tamara mentioned, we do have council on the 23rd of June as well as July 7th. So there are several council meetings within the next month. But I certainly look to council. I'm more than happy for it to be delegated to me to approve, but I don't know if you guys want that. Basically, I'm going to be taking in the feedback you've given today, but looking in the municipality's best interest, which is typically more housing, more revenue, stuff like that. So it's up to you guys.
I'm all for trying to get it collectively looked at, so we're all on the same page. Moving forward, nothing, by no means against you, Jeff, on that note, but it's been bouncing around a little bit, and I'd like to see it carry on, because we're getting forward movement. We just need to clear the air, which we're doing today. To jump in on Barry's conversation there, I'm all about that highway commercial section at the bottom. We've already got a big park in town and everything else, nothing against parks, but on the same note, if we're trying to maximize density and dollars spent versus dollars earned on that property, the highway commercial segment, if people are buying lots in there and they know they're not getting a billboard sign out on the road, I've seen it in different communities before where they have their own little spot in there and everybody knows it could be a professional center, it could be a lot of different things in there. So anyways, I'm in support of that whole segment, not the whole park lands being commercial, but the bottom portion of it, the way it was kind of laid out at the start. Secondarily, again, if we're running primary sewer to the middle of the property there, we design it to maximum design to how many housing units we can get above that, so that we're not having to make a sewer line bigger later on if the developer says, yeah, we're going to put in 80 units here, which we've set it up for. So we're only putting sewers in once. That'll cover off everything below it, but also later on when we go to sell that development to the top end of the property, it's turnkey for a developer to say, yeah, I can plug right into that sewer main and the whole property flows properly.
Nancy, did you have another comment?
I just had one question. If we make that little commercial portion, does it have to have its own entrance off County Road?
I don't believe there's an option to access it directly from the county road, so.
No, I just wouldn't want it to delay any of the progress of it in order just to have that deemed commercial.
No, it should be okay. Everything can, commercial uses can come off municipal roads.
I'd like to just make a comment in regard to the green area. I think it's great that we're thinking about a small commercial piece there, but I think if I was my family, we're gonna have a home built in here, I'd really like to have a nice little park, basically almost in your backyard. So I hope that we're gonna leave enough space there that it's a sizable.
So Evan, just to double check, we're still leaving the purple area as all park, right?
Through the deputy mayor, are you referring to the purple area on our revised plan, on our plan?
No, actually, I'm looking at Paul's plan right now, but I can flip back to yours. Yours would be the green, I guess.
Let me reshare here.
Yeah.
So you're referring to the green. So the green area is still, this is what's being debated right now by council, is that the whether or not there be a commercial block created kind of on the south end of the park. So this is quite a large park. This is more along the lines of a full-size neighborhood park that the municipality would assume control and maintenance of. So, we have probably more than enough room. Typically, we reserve around 7% of a site's area for stormwater management. So you can do this two ways. We had set this up so you could do a stratified park, meaning your swim pond is essentially below a park using a product called StormCon. You could do it as the traditional method where you've got a swim pond sort of, separated, say here, and then the park here, and then the commercial below. There's a couple of ways you could do this. What we would be looking at if you're going to ask for us to investigate a new commercial block is whether or not we would do a single commercial block or essentially a large block where you could do a separate site plan for maybe a multi-phased, multi-unit site plan. Potentially a condo in the fullness of time. So if you wanted a developer or a franchise, for example, you know, a McDonald's or another Tim Hortons all together. You could look at it like that. It just, you know, keep in mind, one of the things we're trying to design too is this civic campus. And so when you've got a commercial piece in a park, we would want to make sure that we put in appropriate transition measures between a busy commercial highway commercial use and a public park where kids are probably playing. So it could be something like fencing and natural buffers, but when you create that use, you have to think about those things rather than just the park as it is today, which is quite good because it's separated from the road. So this is you're debating it. We're looking for direction from you on how to treat this.
Yeah. Like, I think that's what we're looking, we're just looking for a small commercial lot there on the bottom corner where you had it there before. And then the rest of it would be park. And the park may even expand up a little bit more, could possibly expand up a little bit more also. Is that into that area? Yes.
Yeah. So all of the blocks here are relatively flexible. We try to take topography into account when we're designing these things to make it, because everything you see here has to be graded to create the flat spots for the uses. We have to grade the road network. We have to grade the drainage features for the road, and then we have to grade the connections between the blocks or lots and the road. So there's flexibility as we go. And this is still, just to keep in mind, concepts on paper until our civil engineer has looked at it and determined that it can be final and binding, because the grading, you know, anything can be engineered, but it's also what the town is capable of supporting from a financial standpoint and a functional and practical standpoint. So, you know, our engineer, we endorse this today, and our engineer tomorrow says, you know, it's going to cost you millions of dollars to have the MRF down in this corner. Like we will still need to take into that into account. But, you know, for now, what we're doing is we're talking about how to lay out the land use. And so this is all flexible. Boundaries are flexible.
Evan, that property that you're saying showing above the park area, the green.
This one here?
Yeah. How, like, describe to me what that would be like for a park.
In this sense, like in terms of what it would look like as a park?
No, just is it all rock, or is it
Oh, up here is actually quite a nice. So this is probably, the green today is probably your flattest open area. You've got some kind of hardwood trees lining the site. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
But this, you know, that sort of ends about here too. There's, you know, this starts to get into forest as you go into here. So, you know, what you would be looking at for a park is essentially the municipality's prerogative. So if you wanted to have this as a flat programmed space, there's extensive grading and tree removals that would have to be done. But if you want this as a naturalized park, that can exist too. It doesn't need to be the standard park you see in Vaughan. You know, this is Halliburton, so we can have this as a naturalized forest park as well. You know, there's so many ways to go about creating a park for your needs. Programmable space is usually preferred, especially when it's connected to a MRF, because you've got opportunity for the parking here, you know, and then you've got overflow uses for things like farmers markets or festivals or events like that. So it's really your call on what you envision, but a park can go anywhere very easily. It's less easy to move where, you know, a future extended care site would go, or a multi-use recreation facility would go, because you're probably looking for the flattest spots that require the least grading for a big space like this.
okay? Thanks very much. Go ahead, Pat.
Evan, the green area there that you got up on the screen, how many acres is that?
11.3.
Anybody have any idea how big our park is here in town? 2? Yeah, so again, I'm not against the parks, but again, if the topography suits a nice park in there and everything, that with the mixed use of commercial, that works. On that note, with no offense to anybody, we don't need I'm exaggerating, a 30-acre park that, you know, if we got one here, if we have one here in town, it's nice to have a spot there that people could walk to in green space, exactly. On that note, but if it fits in well with stormwater management pond and it's treed well, and it's accessible, meaning it's not on a 45-degree angle and there's some paths through it and everything else, to me, that's great on that note. But again, I'll say on a different fork in the road is that, if we take too much away from our park in town, it kind of brings the people, the traffic in town down on that note. That's my own opinion, of course, but on the same note, the healthy balance is, I guess, what I'm after there.
Well, and I think parkland doesn't have to mean playground either. It could be, like you said, it could be a mixture of trails or off-leash dog trails or who knows? Like you have time to develop that over time. It's not necessarily a playground like we have in Headlight Park.
If I may, through the deputy mayor, there's also a requirement under the Planning Act for 5% of parkland to be dedicated. So that's the typical amount given, and we can obviously shrink that. It's an interesting dilemma in that this is a municipal project. So typically what would happen if you're shrinking the size of parkland for a developer is that they would pay the municipality cash in lieu for a parkland. In this case, it's your land and you wouldn't be paying yourself cash in lieu. So I'd have to, I'd like to actually confer with our, we have a partner in-house that used to be a manager of planning at a municipality. So they might have a better understanding of how the Planning Act might treat municipally developed lands in that regard, but typically it's 5%. So I would say from a conveniency and a planning policy perspective, you are bound by the Planning Act to that 5%. So to make things simple, I would consider the minimum park size 5% of the area.
Okay, but I think right now we're looking at even a larger percentage right now, the way
Yeah,
it's.
it's correct. It's a bit larger, quite a bit larger than is required.
Okay, perfect. And I think the topographical, that's the only thing it can be used for really in that area. So it's all good. That's all good stuff. It can be walking trails. It can be, there's creeks running through there. That's all kinds of stuff. So, first of all, maybe council is what I've kind of laid out here, whatever. Is everybody in agreement to that?
Clear on what direction.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure that, first of all, are you guys clear with it? All right, right?
As a rep of it, I've not really heard about this development, and just hearing that the man said McDonald's for it. And I mean, that's the last thing, especially since you guys were talking to other people about the community identity and all of that, and now you're talking about putting a McDonald's or what's next to Walmart, and that you're taking away from the downtown core. There's already stores there that are vacant and looking pretty shabby, and then you're going to put those kinds of things there.
That was just a comment as an example. I don't think anyone was specifically targeting McDonald's or
Yeah.
anywhere else, but I have to ask you right now politely to let council continue with their deliberations. If you'd like to make a delegation or submit something in writing, you're welcome to for the next meeting. Yep.
Pay your salary.
We are happy to hear from them. We just have to follow the process.
Okay, so first of all, is council happy with what we've discussed? Is everybody on the same page here or not? I'm guessing I'm asking.
Hey, Tammy,
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to
Okay.
go with that.
Harm,
Yeah, we gotta start somewhere.
all right, Bear, you're good, Nance? Pat,
Yes.
I am also good.
Okay, should we, now Evan, can you run through what we talked about just to make sure we're all on the same page here? So,
Absolutely. I can sort of try to word it as a motion if you'd like. And so the motion would be that the Biglieri Group, which is my firm, review this concept and refine it to a third version 3 to swap back the red and the purple blocks here, which was the Extendicare and the MRF sites. So they would be opposites. That we would also review whether or not and how a highway commercial use could be introduced at the south end of what is this large public park block. We would maintain the public park block in this general area along with the swim pond, and we would consider refinements to its boundary on the north here between phase 1A and phase 2. We would keep the phasing generally in line. We will do 2 concepts for roads, one being a single concept and one being a double road concept. We will design this as lotless blocks for the singles. And then we will cul-de-sac here at the east end. We will redesignate for an appropriate transitionary land use for the industrial / non-employment, non-residential area. And we will continue under the assumption that sanitary services would be extended to the full extent of the property to provide partial services for all lots.
I think,
Does that sound okay for everybody?
yeah, I think you got it pretty good. I mean, and then things can be tweaked anyway, right? Like, it's not like this is set in stone, but this is where we're gonna go to start with.
Exactly. You
Yep.
got it.
Jeff, do you have any comment?
No, I don't have any additional comments right now. I just want to make sure Evan has enough direction to proceed. And Evan, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I've been jotting notes about council's discussion today, but I'm sure they're similar to yours.
Through the deputy mayor, there's only one further block which wasn't brought up today, and this is the future development block, and I can reshare here. It might be a better idea if I reshare. And please let me know if you see the screen.
Yes.
So there's 2 components. Once we switch the extended care block back, I believe it was in staff's interest for staff to continue with negotiations with the potential tenant, which is the extended care. So that would be fine with our end if staff would like to continue with the negotiations between municipality to tenant rather than have us as a consultant deal with them. And then staff can let us know the flexibility in the area that they would need. And then what we needed to decide is if this future development block were to be set aside, continued for the medium density uses we had discussed, which is, could be something like a street townhouse, a row, a back-to-back townhouse, a stacked townhouse, or if this wants to become a future block for municipal ownership where you install and operate a true affordable housing development. So it could be still a stacked townhouse you're thinking. And by medium density, I'm not thinking, high rise stuff like you would see in Vaughan. This is probably more like a 4-story building. But that's something you could direct us to consider too. And as we refine the shape of these blocks is the use and how we label it. So we have to customize the official plan and zoning bylaws to implement all the uses we do. So this is the only piece we would need final direction on is, do you have an intent for medium density uses or affordable? And that can be part of our next step in your motion today.
Go ahead, Nancy.
I think we should keep that as at least a medium density area for housing.
Pat, you have a comment?
Yeah, just I echo that. Like what we're trying to do, there's several types of housing and different densities on that note. And again, a different topic, like as we progress this whole thing, we'll be putting in caveats of what we're going to allow in the zoning areas and what we're not as we move along. So this is just a framework for all of us to get started on, and we keep walking through it on that note. So we're on the same page.
Okay, everybody happy with this so far? All right.
Do we
Mayor?
know which meeting we'll bring back a next draft to? Is there an idea, Evan, when that would make sense, or Jeff? We have either next week, we have July 7th, and then we have July 28th, I believe. are The
Tamara,
next 3 meetings.
I'm not, I'm away on July 7th.
Okay,
It wasn't a planned, this wasn't a planned meeting on
No.
July 7th, right? So I've arranged a holiday in British Columbia for working around
Yep.
our schedule. So
Yep.
just so you know, not that I
That's
gotta
okay.
be here, but just so you do know, I won't be here on July 7th.
that's fine. Yep. So what date works?
How's the 23rd, Evan?
That's only a week away.
I know, I'm just being.
Yeah.
You
Um,
don't-
I'm going to say that seems a little industrious. Just because I'm not the one drawing this, I don't want to commit
Yeah.
our urban design team to that deadline. So if it's possible for at least 2 weeks, I think it's possible, quite frankly, but I'm not our design lead sitting here, so I would appreciate if we can push it to 2 weeks, then that would be ideal.
Well, if we could get it to July 7th, Barry would see a copy of it on the agenda. If he had any comments, I'm sure he could submit them ahead of time. Sorry, Councillor Boyce.
Barry, did you hear that? You're not gonna be here on the 7th. That's when it's probably gonna come back. And you'll see that it's on the agenda, and if you have any comments, you'll submit it to.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
That way we'll know
Yeah.
what your comments are going into the
Sure,
meeting.
I can do that. I think the way we've gone through here today, I think it's gonna
Sure.
come back the way
Perfect.
we've all discussed anyway. I don't feel there will be any issues, to be honest, but anyway, I can look at it. No
Sounds like the 7th then, Evan.
Yeah, and through the deputy mayor, that works. What I can also commit to do is to see if we can do it within a week. And if we can, then I can send it in to staff and we're on the agenda.
Yeah, that's fine. Either way, we're flexible.
That'd be great.
And just last thing, just to reiterate, I know we got aspirations of getting as many housing units in that upper level, but just be very cognizant of the terrain in there, because if we can put roads anywhere, but if people are building on 45-degree angles in there, it's going to be problematic. But anyway,
Through the deputy mayor, if we design this as vacant blocks, it would essentially be on the whoever decides to build out these homes to apply how many lots they would want. We would simply establish a minimum lot size.
good stuff. Thanks.
Okay, do we have a resolution?
Be it resolved that council receives the staff report dated June 16th, 2026, and further that council requests that the Biglieri Group to amend the site plan as per council's direction, and further that the Biglieri Group present a third draft on July 7th, 2026.
Okay, a mover. Tammy and Nancy, all in favor? Good, passed. All right, is Rob gonna come in and? No? Okay,
Thanks, everybody. Have a nice rest of your week.
okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Evan. Okay, and now we're gonna have a resolution to go into closed session, and unfortunately, the public will have to leave then, so sorry about that. No, heck no. You're welcome. Yeah.
You just go to the lobby.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay, go ahead, Laurie.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting at 11:28 to discuss matters pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land in the township of Dysart, lands of Dysart et al., County Road 21.
So we're back live. And Lori, you have a confirming bylaw for a resolution, please?
Yep, be it resolved that bylaw number 2026-50, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of a special council meeting held on June 16th, 2026, be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and a corporate seal attached thereto.
Okay. Mover? Nancy and Carm? All in favor? Thank you. And we have a
Adjournment?
adjournment.
Yep, be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting held on June 16th, 2026 at 12:02.
Yeah, mover, seconder, Barry and Tammy. All in favor? Thank you. Thanks, council. Thank you.